The rumors of the Switch successor have been spiraling all over social media, and it has everyone speculating on what Nintendo is planning on doing moving forward. Are they going to release a full sequel to the Nintendo Switch, a system that has sold over 100 million copies? Or are they going to upgrade to a Switch Pro, give it upgraded specs, keep that ecosystem alive, and to elongate this particular generation? We're going to talk about this right now. Let me put you on to game. So for those who don't know, we've been seeing a lot of rumors lately, most recently Pokemon related rumors talking about enhancement patches coming. Now I want to talk about what the potential of a Switch Pro or a Nintendo Switch 2 will do for Nintendo moving forward. The Don, which do you think Nintendo should move forward with and why?
I want Nintendo to move forward with whatever the successor to the Switch is going to be. So I hope that's what they're coming out with. The reality of the situation, however, I believe they're going to have a Pro model for the Switch that's going to have a slightly more powerful processor to give you a little bit better graphics, maybe a higher resolution when docked, but not necessarily better performance, which is really disappointing. I feel like that's what it's going to be.
When we're talking about Nintendo Switch games, performance is the key of what is making the current generation of games on that console struggle. Multiplayer games specifically. We're talking about Overwatch. We're talking about Apex Legends. These games do not run good on the Nintendo Switch. They are not good enough to play competitively, and multiplayer games should be casually enjoyed at best. That needs to change.
I mean, that's what I think, that it's not going to have frame drops or stuttering or anything like that. The one that's really had it bad has been Pokemon. That one has terrible stuttering, terrible frame drops. Everything is just bad with that game's performance.
I understand this is a portable system, and I get that they need to keep the price of this new Nintendo Switch down, but at the very least, consistent 60 frames a second is a must. I would take 60 frames a second over higher resolution. If we can play these games without significant stutter or chug, that is a huge step forward.
The Pro Switch, which is what I think is going to come, is going to have more stable performance, slightly higher resolutions. Like, you're not going to see games that are running 520p handheld. They're going to be the full 720p that the screen can be. And then docked, at most, is going to be rendered 1080p, probably NVIDIA DLSS upscaled to 1440p or maybe even 4K. I doubt that, but it's possible.
And Nintendo has done this before. This isn't the first time. We already have increments in upgrades of consoles, whether it was Game Boy with Game Boy Color, Game Boy Advance, 3DS, the new 3DS, always adding little bits of technology in order to continue the life cycle of the current generation, but also giving some of the gamers additional power, additional things that they want to see from a system that is already a few years old. In this case, 6 years old already.
Number one, they said when the Switch was originally announced that they had a 10-year plan for the Switch. We're only 6 years in. I don't think they're going to make a full-on successor prior to that 10 years. That's part of the reasoning I think it's going to be a Pro, and why I think it's going to be minimal performance improvements, not necessarily performance upgrades.
Think about it. If this is just an incremental upgrade, or this is just to beef up the system to make the current games up to speed with a patch, of course, that doesn't even guarantee that every game in the library will receive it, but I'm assuming the most popular sellers will, at least the first party games. But where do they stop it and say, okay, these are things that we're saving for the next ultimate successor to the Switch?
You said that they would have to patch the games. Nintendo is not patching these games. They're going to sell you these games for $70 now to be on a successor to the Switch. What you're going to get with the Pro, which is what I've been saying about the performance improvements, is that you're now going to get these games without the stutter, and they're not going to do anything else, because that doesn't take anything. It's just, they're just brute forcing it with this power boost that will be in the Pro.
Sure, we're thinking about the Nintendo Switch and the power of those original games. It may not take take much from an incremental upgrade to boost, cause let's be honest, when we're thinking about first party Nintendo Switch games, for the most part they ran relatively well. I believe with a good patch and slightly upgraded hardware, they will hit that consistent 60 and play as it should.
No, not a patch. I'm saying that just the power of the system itself is just gonna make the games run more consistently.
Remember, we have rumors that there are patches being worked on, like the Pokemon patch, allegedly. So we already have an idea that that's where they're headed in terms of these games. Where do they stop the patches? Is it only going to be the most recent games that received them?
They're not going to do patches on the old games. The simple fact that the hardware is more powerful, the games are going to run more consistently. There's not going to be frame drops. And then when they put out the successor, it's going to have back compat. It's going to run more consistently again, just like the Pro version. Now the new games, if you want a 60 frames version of whatever game they got that's 30 frames, like Bayonetta 3 for example, nah, you got to buy those again, $70. Deluxe edition like they were doing with the Wii U games to the Switch. That's the reason I don't think they're going to put out a successor to the Switch. I think this is going to just be a Pro because they're not going to do that.
To be honest, I think you're giving Nintendo too much credit. Let's think about it in terms of the PlayStation 4 to the PlayStation 5 and those PS5 patches for a lot of these games. Talk about games like The Last of Us 2, 60 frames per second patch. The original God of War, 60 frames per second patches. And this took an entire upgraded, full, beefy, next-gen system in order to make these games 60 frames a second. I don't think running these games just on this Switch Pro is going to do anything at all unless they specifically make a patch for it.
It's just like a PC. Like if you change the processor in your PC or you change the graphics card, the game is going to look better. That's what I mean. Like it's going to have everything default. Nothing is different. Kind of like with the 3DS and the new 3DS. They had games like the Fire Emblem Warriors game. They didn't have the sideways label that said only for the new 3DS. That if you played it on a new 3DS, it was a choppy 30 frames. But if you played it on a regular 3DS, it was 15 frames. That's what I'm talking about.
This is assuming, once again, that Nintendo is going to make a powerful enough system to brute force patch it. We have been clamoring for more tech in our Switch, and I'm looking forward to see what they reveal. Now, viewers, what would you like to see Nintendo release next? Do you want that Switch Pro to come out next year, or do you want them to just release their next generation console? Let us know in the comments. We look forward to hearing from you. And as always, when we do get any more updates to the Nintendo systems coming in the future, we will let you know.
If you liked our content, mash that like button, and if you're new to the channel and want to see more content, hit the subscribe button. Thanks for watching.